Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanksgiving's over, and it's time for us to go over the Week 14 NFL games, picking the winners, and an update to the power rankings. This on another episode of... So, kicking off the week, we got the Dallas Cowboys, who are 6-5-1, taking on the 7-5 Detroit Lions. Detroit. That was a terrible Thanksgiving showing against the Packers. Honestly, you're not as good as you were last year, and you're just facing the facts. But this is a potential bounce back week against a team you guys hate in the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas, amazing win over the Chiefs. You outdueled them. You proved you had what it takes to win a game against a really good quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. And honestly, I'm going with Dallas here. Dallas has the hot hand. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Chiefs. They are looking very good right now. Detroit, on the other hand, seems to be struggling a little bit. So the hot hand is Dallas, and thus I must pick them. Moving on, we got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Atlanta Falcons. The Seahawks are 9-3. The Falcons are 4-8. Atlanta, you lost to the Jets. I don't think I need to go over why I'm picking Seattle here, because while the Seattle Seahawks blew out the Vikings, which they should have done easily, and they did, you guys blew a game to one of the worst teams in the NFL so far this year. And blowing a game against the Jets, it's not easy. Moving on, we got the 6-6 Steelers taking on the 6-6 Ravens. The AFC North, it's wide open. These teams are proof of it. Neither of them can truly take control of their destiny, as they both lost in somewhat embarrassing fashion this week. The Ravens, they blew a game to the Cincinnati Bengals in Joe Burrow's return, and the Pittsburgh Steelers got blown out by the Buffalo Bills, while Rodgers also got hurt, and it's not looking good for Pittsburgh. Now, at home, in Baltimore, I'm going to pick the Ravens. I feel like the Ravens just have a better roster, even though both teams are struggling. The Steelers' defense is the most overrated unit on the field, and I feel like, depending on what the situation at quarterback is, who they're starting, it could be very bad for Pittsburgh. Next, we got the winners of those games facing each other in the 4-8 Cincinnati Bengals and the 8-4 Buffalo Bills. This game, despite the records, could be very good. Cincinnati, now that Joe Burrow's back, their offense is looking much better. Their defense surprisingly put up a good fight against Baltimore and got several turnovers. Meanwhile, the Bills, they destroyed a sad Steelers team. So it's kind of hard for me to pick who's going to win here. I'm going to go with Bills just because I feel like there's just maybe a little bit better, but it could go either way. It really depends on whether Josh Allen can outduel Joe Burrow. Next, we got the 1-11 Tennessee Titans taking on the 3-9 Cleveland Browns. Tennessee, once again, you lose. No surprise there, really. But Cleveland, you also lost. So this is a tank bowl right here. However, I don't think Cleveland can out-tank Tennessee. I think Cleveland goes to 4 wins, mainly based on that defense. I think the Shedeur Sanders fanboys get another game to say he's the greatest quarterback of all time, mostly because of how bad Tennessee is. Next, we got a fight between the 8-4 Colts and the 8-4 Jacksonville Jaguars. If this game was in Indy, I'd talk about how, yes, the Colts lost to the Texans, but the Texans have a really good defense, thus I think the Colts could win. Blah, 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 and how the Jacksonville Jaguars, while they did win this past week, I'm not so sure about them, but it's in Jacksonville. And we all know what happens when the Colts go to Jacksonville. Regardless of how good these two teams are, Jacksonville's winning. Sorry, Colts. Next, we got the 4-8 Vikings taking on the 3-9 Washington Commanders. Honestly, Vikings, you are the saddest team at quarterback. And it's not even close. You guys had Sam Darnold in 14 wins, and now you have 4 wins and 2 quarterbacks that are basically still college level. And honestly, I'm not even sure what to say about your team other than it sucks. Your defense is the only thing that keeps you relevant. Now, that's not to say the Commanders aren't also flawed, but the Commanders almost beat the Broncos while the Vikings got deleted by the Seahawks. So I'm going with the Commanders because they've looked better recently. Next, we got the 5-7 Miami Dolphins taking on the 3-9 New York Jets. And Miami, great win. You beat the team you're supposed to beat. You're at 5-7. You're closing back in on 500. Good job, Miami. And here's another very winnable game in the New York Jets. The Jets, 3-9. Honestly, upsetting the Falcons was very impressive, but I don't think that means they're any better than they were. I think that just speaks loads about how flawed the Falcons are. So I'm picking Miami to win. They beat them last time. The Jets have not improved much since then. So I feel like the Miami Dolphins sweep the Jets, move on to another win. Next, we got the 2-10 New Orleans Saints taking on the 7-5 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Saints, they continue to look terrible. They continue to look bad. They continue to be a team that is doing as good as I thought they would at the beginning of the season. Tampa Bay had a bounce-back win after having a string of losses, and now, unfortunately, they're fighting with the Panthers for the top of their division. But the Saints play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers really good normally, so this will be probably a close game, or at least an annoying game for the Buccaneers. But I'm going to pick the Buccaneers to win. Why? Because they're just better. Next, we got the 2-10 Vegas Raiders taking on the 10-2 Denver Broncos. Last time these two teams played, it was a very close 10-7 finish. But this time, I think the Broncos beat up a little more on the Raiders. The Raiders still look terrible. Honestly, they did not fix themselves in the 1 week since they fired Chip Kelly. They looked awful versus the Chargers. And they're going up against the Denver defense again. Denver defense, which just saved them against the Commanders. So, while I think Denver is a flawed team, I think they can beat the Raiders again. I don't see how the Raiders are going to actually pull out a win against that defense. Next, we got the 9-3 LA Rams taking on the 3-9 Arizona Cardinals. The Rams, tough loss to the Panthers. Honestly, if it wasn't for the turnovers, you would have won. Now, Arizona, on the other hand, had another loss. So, I don't think it's too outrageous for me to say I think the Rams are going to win this one. Why? Because the Rams' offense is very good. If the defense just fixes its mistakes from last week, they should be good again. The Arizona team, their defense regularly is bad. Their offense is good when Jacoby Brissett is throwing to Trey McBride. Not much beyond that, but I think the Rams can definitely beat up on the Arizona Cardinals. Next, we got the 9-3 Chicago Bears taking on the 8-3-1 Green Bay Packers. Give me the Packers here. At home, I just feel like the Packers are going to win. I feel like this is just the Bears-Packers rivalry, but it's the side of it that I think the Packers will win on. They're very good against the Bears. They have been historically. This Bears team is very good, but I can't say that the Packers will lose to them in Lambeau. Next, we got the 7-5 Houston Texans taking on the 6-6 Kansas City Chiefs. Houston, great win against Indy. Good job. You're getting back into the playoff race. Kansas City, you're in deep trouble. At this point, it's a must-win every week for you because there ain't many games left in the season, and you guys have been dropping the ball a lot. Now, I got to say, I'm going with the Chiefs here, not because I discount the Texans' defense. It's one of the best in the NFL. I really like it. But I'm not so sure about the Texans' offense. Yes, they were able to beat the Colts, but will they be able to beat the Chiefs? And to end out the week, we got the 8-4 Philadelphia Eagles taking on the 8-4 LA Chargers. Now, the Chargers blew out the Raiders. The Eagles lost to the Bears. Yeah, I think you know which way I'm going with this one. Now that the collapse has started, I'm going all in on the Chargers here. The Eagles, they let the Bears running backs run for 100 apiece, get a touchdown apiece. The Bears did great in the rushing attack. I think the Chargers also could do that same thing to the Eagles. And the Chargers, while beat up, I think going into Philly, they have a good chance if Justin Herbert's good to go. So with that being said, guys, please like, share, subscribe down below, comment what you think, and I'll see you next time.